Yes.
There you are. Hello.
Hello. Happy to be here.
So glad you're here. All right. So Oana and I actually have never met. We've only spoken over email. But she is a friend of my former business coach and love coach, Anastasia Frank.
Yeah,
Um,
beautiful.
yeah,
Thank
so
you.
let me introduce you with your bio here. And Oana, I really appreciate you, making yourself ready to do this when you're recovering from being ill.
Yeah, it's been a challenging day, but I'm here and I'm very happy to be here.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad. Okay. So Oana is a feminine embodiment coach and owner of The Feminine. Oana, is it Stoianovici? Is that how you say your
Yes,
name?
yes, yes.
For me. Oana Stoianovici is a globally recognized feminine embodiment coach known for helping high achieving women break free from emotional burnout, masculine overdrive, and disconnection from their bodies. With over 2 decades of transformational coaching experience, she developed the Feminine Method, a unique approach to healing emotional wounds and reclaiming feminine radiance. Rooted in her own spiritual awakening and personal healing journey, her work fuses shamanic wisdom, tantric and Taoist practices, and trauma informed emotional work. Through sacred rites of passage, Oana guides women to rediscover their sensual power, inner freedom, and soul aligned life. Her groundbreaking method is transforming how women live, lead, and love. And her interview title is Feminine Embodiment in a Chaotic World. Yeah, so uh, welcome, Oana.
Welcome and
So
happy to be here, Alice. Thank you for inviting me.
you're welcome. I think I'm gonna skip down to the question that you listed third, but when we look at, you know, the world becoming more and more chaotic,
Hmm.
with all the crises, all the political crises, the public health crises, war, famine, authoritarianism. What is the role of women and what's the role of the feminine, even beyond, you know, maybe what our body, which kind of body we have, but what's the role of the feminine in making a difference in this kind of world?
I think it's a really understanding what's the difference between a woman and a feminine woman, a deeply feminine woman, which is really a deeply feminine woman is a woman who has given herself permission to walk away from the patriarchal system she's absorbed through living in a masculine driven world, right? Which is chaotic and, and everything
Mm,
you've shared. And she has given herself the opportunity to come back into her feminine roots, connecting to her feminine ancestral wisdom. Because
mm,
back in the early times when the feminine was also revered, not just the masculine was revered, women would hold, through sacred ceremonies and rites of passages, the wisdom of the feminine, the wisdom of all women, and that type of wisdom through the type of rituals and practices and the type of psychological and spiritual work women would do. It would be passed down through oral transmission from the elderly women to the young women. And when
mm-hmm,
patriarchy rose and it became strong, the feminine became quiet. And we lost the
mm-hmm,
connection with our true feminine roots, with our true wisdom, with the way we understand the world and become our most empowered, our most sensual, our most loving, our most wise self. And then we're
mm,
kind of in between, you know we're not really masculine. We can't really say we've become men, right? We're still women, but we're carrying a lot of the ways of the masculine to create, to nurture, to achieve success, to be too much in the mind, right? Too much in control, too much in the hustle, because that's the recipe. But that works for men, it doesn't work for women. Women will never achieve their true power as women, right? In that way. So that creates even a more disconnect. And being a feminine woman is a woman who's coming back to her roots. Why we need this type of woman in today's world is because she's the only one who can heal the chaos. She's the only
Mm.
one who can help us bring ourselves back into the body, bring ourselves into our humanity, bring ourselves into being present, into remembering why we're so special as human beings, because we carry emotions, we have a soul, why we should care for life and our relationships and intimacy and compassion. All of these things are supposed to be channeled, right, by women in society. They should be supposed to be channeled by the mothers who give birth to new generations of children, right? Who don't end up chaotic and anarchical and dictatorial, right? It all starts with the
Mhm.
woman, it all starts with the mother. So a woman who's lost herself, lost the roots, can't really teach this, right? Because she doesn't know how to.
So what I'm hearing is there's an imbalance.
Yeah.
Like the masculine, the masculine patriarchal, no, under patriarchy and under
Yes.
like um post-industrial patriarchy, right?
Yeah.
Because there was
Yeah.
agricultural
Yeah.
patriarchy, which has its own problems.
Yeah.
And under post-industrial patriarchy, there's this masculinity of accomplishment.
Yeah.
And it's so everywhere that it's gone to the length of war and violence and dictatorship. And it's so pervasive culturally that even women or others who are naturally attracted to the feminine of nurturing, there's no space for that nurturing,
Mm.
for that nurturing essence, I guess is the closest word.
Yeah.
Um,
Energy, essence, intelligence,
energy,
however you
essence,
want to call it, right?
ethic, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, it's so interesting. You were saying, I don't remember exactly what you said, but you said something about we've internalized the striving of the of accomplishment oriented masculinity, that it even pervades the feminine things we do. I'm thinking about how in my lifetime alone, how birthday cakes and birthday parties for children have become a contest, right?
Yes.
When I was a kid in the
Competition.
70s, it was like, maybe you have a party, maybe you have a party, maybe you don't. Depends if your mom feels up for it.
Yeah.
And like, your party is a cake, right? There are candles on it, but it's not Mickey Mouse.
Performance show.
It's not performance. It's not like, okay, do we have the right party favors? Okay, do we have the right theme? Okay, did we decorate enough? Okay, are there enough people here? How good do the invitations look? Um, it's yeah, it's not a it was not a contest.
No.
And it's possible maybe there was a contest I didn't see because I was the kid, but I don't think so. I think that started like 20 years ago and it's suddenly like, yeah, like the corporate ethic of be the best and win a race has come into like the most feminine of activities of
Yeah.
cooking for your child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. And it's everywhere that it's confusing us, right? Because we adopt something that's been told to be the recipe for success while we are pushing away our internal voice. Because it's not like we have deeply lost the feminine, right? But it's shut down because it's not appropriate, right? You tell children at 4, girls at 4, don't be wild, don't be emotional. It's too much. Already it's too much, right? She doesn't have to wait to her 40s to be too much. She can be too much already when she's 4,
Right,
right?
right, right.
And it's like you need to be polite, you need to be competitive, you need to drive this, you need to drive this. Either acquire a husband or, perform in the corporate world. Either way, you have to shut yourself down because your wildness, right? Your roar, your little inner voice is not allowed. And that's where we lose the magic, that's where we lose the radiance, that's where we lose the wisdom and the ways of the feminine, right? Because it's very different than the masculine. And there's nothing, I'm not against the masculine in any shape or form,
Oh, that's
except that it has gone into extreme shadow and totally dysfunction dynamics over the years. And it pretty much now, I think it's boiling to the moment of there's a crisis that we need to deal with. But it's what we need to understand is if we don't grow into our feminine, we will never be able to match and balance the masculine, right? We've seen the masculine grow and grow, and we've had times in which the masculine was thriving and blossoming and flourishing and nurturing, right? It wasn't all the time dysfunctional. But if the feminine doesn't get a chance to grow in just like a tree in the same level and expand the power of the feminine and be a match for the power of the masculine, then you have a complete imbalance in the whole society. Men are not nurtured by the feminine, women can't grow into their feminine, and then of course you end up in a shadow because it's a big imbalance.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. All right, let me, yeah. And what can we do? Like, what can we do, as I say, as women or as people who have an attraction to the feminine in ourselves? What can we do to express that more in ourselves and express it more in the world?
It's a very beautiful question. It was the question that I started my journey with because I was very immersed in the masculine world. I was a leadership coach, and I looked around at one point in my career, and I was very good in where I was, but I was deeply masculine, and everybody around me was deeply masculine, even if they were women. And I started asking myself, so, what does it look like to be an empowered woman, to be a spiritual one, to be a grounded, wise woman? And I didn't know the answer to that. And I started searching because I was so lost and confused. And I think it starts with wanting to know the feminine and explore it, because it's not like it's completely gone out of existence. The whole universe is in a complete balance all the time between the masculine and the feminine. We just haven't been consciously looking for it, right? For women, particularly, this is about coming back to their bodies, coming back to their inner rhythms, learning to meet their feminine energy and their sexual energy, pretty much the same thing, locked underneath the way in which they've constructed their personality, right? Being totally in the mind, totally in control, starting to soften, starting to embrace their emotions, starting to tune into their body. And the moment you start doing that, the feminine has space within you to show up, to activate. For men, it is through an initiated woman.
Mm, that makes sense. Okay, so I realized I have a concern. I have a concern that if we bring out the feminine in such a patriarchally dominated situation, do we risk just being dominated more? Do you know what I mean? Like, if we don't have any walls against this, is it just going to bulldoze over us?
Well, yes, but in my experience, I had a different experience throughout the years
Mm,
because I've been doing these rites of passages for the last 15 years. And my experience was that this is the first step to soften and open up. It's not enough. You need to be able to go deeper into your own healing journey and connect to the wounds that you've carried. Most of the times, they started in your childhood, they started in your adolescent, right? So you need to learn to heal, repattern, mother those aspects of your soul that are coming from your childhood wounds, your adolescent wounds, so that you can become ready and prepared to work with the mature version of the feminine. Because I think what you're addressing, and if I'm not right, please correct me, is if you soften and you go into this aggressive world, you'll be completely shattered, right?
yeah,
Walked
yeah.
upon. But if you learn to sit in a safe space, in a sacred circle, until you become very strong in your
Mm,
compassion, so strong that no warrior can take you down,
so clear. Yep.
right? Then you are balancing by maturing and growing strong into your family. You're balancing the masculine, and you are channeling the energy that can help the masculine retrieve from its shadow into its potent essence, right?
Mm,
I've seen that with the women that I've worked as they grow into the mature archetypes. And the reason why, I hold rites of passage is I don't just do embodiment work in general or feminine work in general. I hold a rite of passage because yes, it's great to meet your feminine, to be in your sexuality, to, come natural with your emotions, all of that, but it's not enough. You need that archetypal work of going through the threshold into the mature version where you can integrate the shadow, where you can integrate the black and the white, and become strong in your feminine, right? And I work particularly with the four main psychological chapters and archetypes of a woman's journey in its mature version. And that's the virgin, which is channeling compassion. And you can never grow into your compassion if you're a wounded girl or a confused adolescent, right? You need to be able to sustain emotional pain, transmute emotional pain, not let pain or betrayal or abandonment shut your heart down, but actually process it and grow stronger in love, and know that that's part of the game in a way, right? You can only achieve compassion in that way. And then you're moving into the wild woman. The wild woman is not all about pleasure. It's about how do you purposefully, create life, because that's what it's birthing, life through pleasure, right? That's a particular type of quality and maturity, right? And then it's the queen mother is all about how do you balance nurturing by including yourself, right? Stop being a martyr, balance, lead from with love, lead with love, right? Not
Mhm.
sacrifice yourself in love. And then it's the wisdom, he's all about, integrating duality. So when you start practicing these mature levels of the feminine, that's when you learn to grow strong into your feminine and match the masculine, even if the masculine is showing up in its shadow.
Mhm. Yeah, that's really clear. It's meeting strength with strength, right?
Yeah, yeah,
It's meeting masculinity with femininity, but it's meeting it with the strength of femininity, not just the vulnerability.
yes.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
beautifully said. I'm going to steal that. Thank
Absolutely. You'll
you.
get the recording.
Yeah.
and and what does that look like? Like you said, that has happened with the women who've gone through these initiations, that they find their strong feminine and they're able to match the shadow masculine so much that it can heal and go into a non-shadow version. So can you share an example of that?
Hmm. So a woman has done the work and has really, and I think the work comes from three layers, right? It's first learning to get out of this masculine dynamic within yourself, right? Getting out of the mind into the body and staying in the body, practicing being in the body so much that when your body is giving you access through your intuition, through your channeling, through what you feel, to the truth, right? And there's no distortions in that, and you can navigate and listen to your inner truth, then you grow very deeply confident in what you feel and why you feel it. It's not an emotional experience, right? It's a knowing, and then nobody can take that away from you. You become strong in it, right? And that gives you a certain groundness, a certain embodiment, a certain level of power, right? Then it's really healing those wounds and retrieving and retrieving your power
Where are you
through
going,
doing the
Lindsay? Day off?
healing work, right? And learning to sit with the mother, the divine mother. For me, I've come to realize that we have got so much work to do in receiving the love of the mother for ourselves, and also understand that the mother is not just this, milking source. It's also authoritative, it's also powerful, it's also grounding, it's also healthy, right? And learning to receive her, but also incorporating who she is in us, in our psychology, right? Becoming the mother, and becoming the mother and learning to tend to the wounds we carry fully makes us very healthy emotionally, because we get away from this imbalance of mothering everything in the universe. We don't need to mother
Mm.
anything in the universe, let alone man, right? We need to stop baking cookies for men and making soups for them. We need to become embodied in our feminine fully, nurture and mother our kids or inner children, our wounds, our projects, and then step into the wild woman, step into the empowered woman who is claiming from the man the warrior. He's claiming for the man to pull up his act and deliver, right? And she can do it sensually and she can do it enticing and inspiring, or she can be very strong in, I want you to show up because I need you to show up. And that's your role here, right? So it's pushing the masculine to step up, and it's not doing it out of force, it's not complaining and whining, it's not out of codependency, it's of the brilliance and the radiance of this, grounded, calm, wise, empowered woman who is patient enough. You can, take your time with it. I've got work to do, I can focus on myself. But if you really want this, which is juicy and amazing and great, and like, show up equally with me. I'm not going to bend. I'm not going to shut down. And I'm not going to be your mother. And I'm not going to look for compromise. So it's in that, that healing of our own wounds, that we stop being afraid to be abandoned. We stop being afraid to lose men. We stop being afraid, oh my God, what will he do? He will cheat on me because I give him a boundary. If he does that, he's not your man, right? It's like stepping into that power. And then being able to also be sensual and dance in and invite the man, invite the empowered man into that love, into that intimacy, into that shared communion that only you can provide for the man, right? And the third layer is do the work completely, right? Meaning, when you're wounded and you're trapped in your shadows, you're mostly in an adolescent stage. You haven't gone through the threshold of your adultness, right? So you can't really initiate a man into passion. You can't really initiate a man into love. You don't even know how to create love in your life, or intimacy or passion from a feminine perspective, right? But that's what we have learned in ancient times. It was our field to carry love and to bring love and to teach children and men love and intimacy, right? I give you an amazing example. I always tell women in ancient times, all the elderly women, before anything, right? Pre-teens, you take these little young adolescent ladies and they would teach them to experience orgasmic energetic pleasure by themselves in the circle of the mothers. It wasn't a sexual initiation. They weren't making sex with each other. That wasn't the purpose. Through chanting and dancing and rituals and meditation and breath work, yes, in ancient times, right? They would learn to harness the sexual energy through their energetic bodies and experience ecstatic levels of pleasure. Without having sex, they were all virgins and it wasn't sexual. Why would they do that in the space of a mother? Because a mother doesn't want anything from you. She's there to unconditionally mirror you back to yourself, right? She's there to witness, oh, you're beautiful. I don't have a competition with you. You're my daughter. Like, I love you to rise, right? And here is how beautiful and strong and unique and powerful you are. Know yourself at your highest level of pleasure. Know yourself at your highest level of intimacy. That's who you are. Did you get it? Yes. Now go meet a man. That's a completely different conversation. No matter who that man is, no matter how much he will, give you love and pleasure, you have met yourself at your highest already by yourself. So if he
Oh,
doesn't agree with you, and if he says whatever, 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 you're like, I get it, but I know who I am, you know?
yeah, yeah. I'm getting you. You start with yourself. You've got your own power, and then if you meet a man, all he gets is your power,
Yeah.
and
And they would have to go through, their initiation on the other side, because those rites of passages would happen to men. They would have to let go of the mother, meet the men, the initiated men. The men would train them into be warriors. They would have to undergo death in the forest, and if they would survive the dark night of the womb, right, the death, the Mother Earth in its darkest shadow, they would come back alive as men, validated by the tribe as men, and ready to marry an empowered woman. A
uh,
different dynamic
a
altogether.
different dynamic. Yeah, Okay, I have some curiosity about how we can bring this to a societal level. And okay, actually, I will ask. And how do we bring this to a societal level? Is it one dyad at a time, or is there something? Okay, actually, I can think of, wow, I'm thinking of a political example.
Okay, go
So
for it.
a very specific example. So
Yeah.
Kamala Harris ran for president of the United States against Donald Trump, and they were in a debate where he said some very uh, stigmatizing and false things about Haitian refugees. I mean,
Mm,
Haitian immigrants, right? Things that he knew would cause violence against them. And
mm,
Kamala Harris, you know, one of her parents is from India, her other parent is Black. Clearly, she had a stake in this conversation. And she didn't, and she let him say that. Right? I didn't watch the debate. I try not to watch him, but I assume she responded, but she let him say those words, and those words were, all over the news and the papers and for weeks, and uh, ordinary citizens started assaulting Haitians, right? And I was thinking, if I'd been on that stage with him, I would have interrupted him. I would have been like, I don't care about the rules of the debate. You are, you know, first words out of his mouth, I would have said, no, no, you're not saying that. No, you're not talking about vulnerable people in that way. That is not how you're using your time
yeah.
on national television with me. We can end this debate, but no, that is no. Right. That's what I would have done. And
Channeling the
that's,
truth and
yeah,
compassion and
truth,
humanity.
compassion, protection, not allowing the garbage of the adolescent male to define the situation, not being passive and polite. But
Yeah.
that's all coming from the feminine, right? That's me being the school teacher in the room, right? Boom, no.
And being truthful, right? You would be in your empowered feminine, taking no bullshit, and aligning the crowd with the truth, channeling the truth. Politicians sometimes miss on the truth because they have an agenda, right? I don't think it's masculine or feminine, right? I think
But
it's
yeah, they've got another
politicians.
agenda. That's actually a lot of what our last speaker talked about. She was talking about business people
Yeah,
sometimes, uh, spiritual leaders who are working on a model of having a business and a personal brand will sometimes
yeah,
shy away from the truth because they've got another agenda. Yes, and
yeah.
politicians definitely a different. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. But I think it's like, there was a lot of stake there being the first woman getting at that level of competition with with the, president in a presidential race. And I think she had a lot at stake. I think as more women grow into their power in leadership positions, in political positions, they will become more confident in being themselves and being truthful. And I
yeah,
think this is like, if we could if we could do the work of giving women confidence to be in themselves and in their truth and not back down, that can be a game changer. Because it's like, if more women, rise up in truth, that's when they become powerful. It reminds me of a beautiful Greek legend that actually happened. It's backed in truth, and there's a Greek play on it, right? That speaks about this transmission very clearly that you're talking about. I think we still have work to do to get there, but this is a complete reminder of that. It was a story about two tribes of men being in war forever. Like,
I've been thinking about
it,
this one.
it came to a point of boiling point where generations of children were born just to get prepared to go to work to kill each other.
Yeah,
And the women would just harness and make more children to prepare them for death. And there was this point of no return, and women ended to after a couple of generations, they just couldn't see their children die anymore. They were like, they were done. Okay. And both of the women All of the women, and both of the women of these two tribes gathered, true story, okay, there's a Greek play on it, gathered
Lysistrata.
on, yeah, on a ceremony, right? They prayed to the divine, and they channeled that the only way to end the war, they prayed to end the war, to stop their children being killed. And they received the message: if all women retrieve from having sex with men, the end will, all women, that's the key, right? They went back, all women said no to men. And in 20 or 48 hours, I don't remember exactly, right? In 2 days, the war was gone forever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it speaks also about the power of women stepping into their truth, but it also speaks about us actually stepping into our feminine power and becoming sisters in the real sense of the way, and understanding that there's a lot for us in our own way that we can counterbalance, but only if we come deeply in our roots and stay there together, right? No competition, no agenda between us. And that's also a patriarchal way of dismantling women's power, putting competition, you know, between them. It was a purposefully driven way of disconnecting women from their feminine.
Well, all right. Oana, share with everybody about your free gift.
My free gift is an invitation into coming back into your feminine, an invitation of discovering the feminine, of learning that it's easy and soft and gentle and sensual to get to know yourself as a feminine woman. It's an entry point into a lot of resources that come along the way once you join. It starts with a couple of meditations that are here to help you have an amazing feminine, nurturing, sensual morning, and then a way to balance your energy throughout the day. And once you join through this beautiful free invitation, you get access to our private community where I offer daily inspiration, guided meditations, and a lot of the work that we so much need.
Oh, so great, so great. Um, I want to check and see, does anybody have questions
Questions?
for Oana? We can wait a minute and see what people, sometimes people are typing in the chat and it takes a minute.
Yeah. We went deep.
We did go deep. We really did. We really
This
did.
is
Just looking at
powerful.
the structure of culture and history and
Yeah, and to ask a little bit, to expand a little bit on the question, how do we bring that to society? I don't really know, but I think if we can keep it an open question rather than a fixed solution, I think we can find ways, right? Because we're living in a modern time. I don't think we need to go back to this ancestral ancient way of looking at the world. I think we need to retrieve the essence and the main truth of it and the wisdom of it, and learn to navigate our modern worlds. But we can only do that if we raise the question, if we stay in dialogue, if we learn to be creative, right? And map the journey for all of us. I wanted to be empowered as a woman in every chapter of my life. I didn't want to play a role. I'm not interested in that. And I don't have the answers. I always tell women we never have the answers, but we can have the context in which the answer can, show up if we give ourselves permission to be connected, to ask the right questions, to sit in prayer and, connect, align with the right source. That's when we can be explorers and thinkers and creative, pioneers. And I think women should step more into that role for themselves and for the world and for society. I think it's time.
I love that. And I love approaching it as an inquiry, right? Just have your antennae out, see
Yeah.
opportunities. Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Oana. I want to let you go back to bed.
Yes.
um,
It's pretty late in Europe. Thank you so much
Yes.
for inviting me. Thank you to your audience, your beautiful audience, for being in this space, wanting to absorb this, and being here with both of us in this dialogue. It's been amazing. I hope I'll see you inside of our community through our free invitation, and you have an amazing summit all together in the next couple of hours and days.
Thank you so much, Oana.
Thank you. Have a
Yes,
great
and
day.
as Julio says, and get better soon. We got a heart
Yes.
from Laura. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
thank you.
you.
Bye.
All right, take care.